Hi everyone, it's Chef Mark and I'm at Appliance Factory in Mattress Kingdom in the showroom today to talk about the difference between convection bake and standard bake. Is there a time that you should use one over the other? What can you expect with this feature? Let's get into it. Let's start with bake. Bake is the most common way to use an oven. When you turn an oven on, most ovens default to bake 350. And what the bake feature is there is a bake element. So there's actually a wire element underneath an electric oven like this one, and it just heats up the cavity to 350 degrees. There's a thermostat that holds the temperature at 350 degrees. A gas oven works in a very similar way. And what happens is you get a natural convection when you turn on the bake element. So the air heats up the food, and cooks it at the prescribed amount of time. It's about as basic as you can get. Every oven has bake. Some ovens have a convection bake, and that's this button here. And when I press convection bake, things get a little bit more complicated. When you press convection bake, a few things will happen that are different from just using your oven in regular bake. A fan will kick on, and what that fan does is it actually draws air into the back of the oven, around some baffles, and the air circulates out the front. This, most importantly, reduces hot spots. So let's say we're baking cookies, and if you've noticed when you bake cookies on the bake setting, they don't cook very evenly. You have to rotate the pans and move them from top to bottom. Convection oven, in theory, will eliminate all of that. You'll get even cooking, top to bottom and edge to edge. When you're using convection baking, you're gonna have a conversion going on, a temperature conversion. So what that means is when you set your convection bake at 350, food will cook more quickly. So the ovens are smart enough to turn the temperature down, typically by 25 degrees, so that the cooking times are fairly consistent compared to what the box says a cooking time will be. So that conversion will automatically reduce the temperature from 350 to 325. But with the convection fan working, you pick up efficiency in the oven and you essentially get 25 more degrees and you're back to 350. It sounds a little complicated, but my advice is to use convection when you're baking to reduce hot spots and trust the package timing. A lot of packages will actually say, if you're going to use a convection oven, to go ahead and set the oven at either a lower temperature or a different time. And those package directions are highly tested, so go ahead and trust them. You're going to find convection and bake features in a host of different appliances, like wall ovens, standard ranges, and luxury ranges. This particular unit here has a host of convection features. True convection, convection bake, convection roast, convection broil. What does all that mean and which one's right for you? Well, it's actually quite simple. We know that convection is fan running. And as long as that fan is running, we're reducing hot spots and the air is circulating. So that being said, convection roast uses a little bit of the bake element and a little bit of the broil element to aid in browning. Let's say we're roasting Brussels sprouts. That would be my choice. The difference between true convection and convection bake is that convection bake uses some of that baking element and the fan, whereas true convection, that's where it gets tricky, true convection or European convection, uses an additional heating element that is outside of the cavity, the oven cavity. In this case, this thermometer oven has an additional heating element right behind the fan that helps aid in even more even cooking. And then finally, convection broil. Well, we know what broil is. Broil is heat from this upper element, and that is just using the broil element with the fan running. So if you stop and think about the different features any oven has, bake, broil, and convection, what an oven will do is use those three different features in different combinations to give you a little bit more control than you would have if you only had a bake button and maybe a broil button and maybe a convection button. Well, that raises the question, what do I use? And I recommend that you use convection bake all of the time. I trust that an oven with a convection fan running will help reduce cooking times and increase consistency throughout the oven. So that's what I recommend you use all the time. The only time I might not use convection is if I'm baking something extremely delicate, a souffle or a genoise, which is sponge cake. Well, I don't bake that much, so that's why I rely on convection bake. Thanks for tuning in. This is Chef Mark. I'm at Appliance Factory. I'm going to recommend that you click that subscribe button. Why don't you click the thumbs up? Leave a comment. Thanks for tuning in.